Hey everybody, it's Mike here from the WeWrench shop and welcome to episode 16. In this episode I continue disassembling the engine. I'm stripping accessories off of it one by one. And today we get into the alternator side, power steering pump, and we eventually move on to getting the wiring harness out of there as well as the individual throttle bodies. So stay tuned. Next thing that we have is the eyelet. Oil cooler lines. Next we'll go for the alternator. 13mm nuts and bolts. Ouch. This bolt on the alternator here is really seized. I don't know why. The nut came off of it on the other side. But I know if I try to muscle this, I'm gonna get into trouble. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to get the power steering pump out of here and just kind of take another look at it and make sure I have some clearance and then go from there. Power steering pump is 13mm nuts and bolts. We got a couple here that hold it to the bracket. What I'm doing right now is I'm undoing the 13mm nut that is right behind the adjuster. That's really tight. This long screw out of there. Right. So this bolt head right here is stripped. That's why it wasn't spinning, it was just rounding it off. So I'm gonna use my turbo socket. These are from Snap-on. What you do is you hammer it on there. You get your impact. And so I got it to turn, but the bolt does not want to come out. So I'm going to use my 50/50 ATF and acetone. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to run the impact on the bolt while taking the pry bar and putting pressure behind the bolt. So let's see if this will work. And that got it to come out a little bit more. Yeah, this is what happens when you work on old cars. This is just to be expected. So this is just giving me a lot of problems. This bolt is giving me a lot of problems. It's just not coming out. I mean, if I keep playing with it, I can get it out. I can hammer on it, I can twist it, but what I'm better off doing, since I swiveled the alternator down, I have access to all the bolts that hold this bracket into place. So I'm just gonna undo those and I'm gonna take this all off. And that way I could take it to the bench and manipulate it that way, because that's just, it's a lot better. They're all 13s. The next step is I want to get this wiring harness out of here. It is a disaster waiting to happen to have this harness dangling like that. It could get full of fluid, it can get crushed. So I want to take it out of here. Now this here, this has wires running through it. And those wires plug into the fuel injectors, and I believe the wiring harness for the idle air control is also in this plastic here. So we want to unplug the fuel injectors one at a time. In order to do that, there's this retaining clip. You have to just pull back from the injector. It's not like the typical connector on a BMW where this is kind of like spring-loaded. It's not like that. You have to get down in there with a tool and just kind of release it. And it's at a weird angle, so this one is going to take some finesse. So I have this free from the injectors now. And the other thing is you got to be real careful because you can lose those clips. Here's what they look like. They'll go flying when you pull that off, so make sure that you keep track. So with this free, this will come loose, but it's also hooked to this plug, which is a junction for the idle air controller right here. So if we unplug the idle air controller and we undo this 10mm nut, we should be able to free it. So to get this off, we have kind of an obstruction in this area here. I won't be able to pass this down through here without removing this 10mm nut. And I don't care that I broke that because these vacuum lines are getting replaced. I'm going to put this nut back on there though. Now with this part of the harness free, you could see it leads to underneath the throttles here, and then it kind of junctions off right here behind the vacuum reservoir. Pull this out. It's got this junction, and then it goes back here and then over to here. Now I'm pretty sure that this harness is free. I don't see it fastened to anything. We have two plugs here still intact. One of them is oil temperature and the other one is a thermostat, I believe, for the oil cooler. Let's unplug those. Those are sticky. Let's see what we can do here. If I can get the idle air control valve out of the way, there's a rubber mount. These idle air controllers are no longer available from BMW, so it's going to be an interesting journey to see exactly what I can do with this thing. I'm not aware of anybody that rebuilds them. We'll see. That rubber mount came apart. I'm going to undo this assembly. It's got to come out anyway. There's no better time than right now. One more plug for this solenoid here. Engine wiring harness is free. So the next thing that I'm looking at is I got my vacuum reservoir here, and I put these lovely braided Volkswagen Audi vacuum lines on here. These are not OEM BMW. These went on here a long time ago because the OEM ones were just garbage, so I replaced them. Not really holding up super well. That's capped off because this went to the secondary air, I believe. So let's see, we got this, it goes through here to this one-way check valve and to here. Got another line. This one goes to the fuel pressure regulator coming directly off of the throttles. I have a 13 millimeter here. I had a 13 millimeter nut here that I undid previously. But if we pull this off, it looks like most of what we're getting at here will come off. So let's do it. So I had the fuel line that was attached to here. Let me get this assembly out of here. Now what I want to do is I want to get this throttle assembly out. And when removing things off the engine, it helps to remove things in clumps. So you can take it to the bench and work on it without obstruction. So we have a bunch of 13 millimeter nuts. There's 3 13 millimeter nuts that hold the runners in. Actually, it's a 10 under here and then 13 on the side. So 13, 13, 10. And we can pull all that out. This will come with it. The fuel lines will come with it. And that's it. This is what I'm using here, long extension with a universal joint and a 13 millimeter socket. Odd angle for these nuts, so you gotta be careful. For the nut on the end, the ratchet won't get in there because of the fuel line, so I'm gonna use a good old-fashioned wrench for that one. I'm really grateful for all the support that I've received so far. Make sure you check us out on all of our social media channels, Facebook at WeWrench Official, Instagram at WeWrench Official, and TikTok at WeWrench. So you can see the amazing progress on this project. My dream car, BMW E34 M5, complete rebuild and restoration.